Motivation or discipline? Which is the one that's going to give you the better health and fitness results? Well, it's a little bit of a combination of both, but one is going to help you a lot more than the other. So I know there were times in the past where I wanted to make a change. Either I was starting a new exercise regimen or I wanted to change some eating habits. And there were times where motivation was there and it pretty much allowed me to get started really strong. But then there were other times when the motivation wasn't there and I just felt like I wasn't ready to begin and I was kind of waiting for the motivation to start. Well, what I realized is that waiting for motivation is a complete waste of time. Whether it's there or not, it doesn't matter. And here's why. Motivation, if it's there, is a great thing to have to get you started toward accomplishing a goal. But the problem is it's not reliable. It's based on how we feel physically or emotionally in the moment. It doesn't stay with us. It can change instantly. It's heavily based on our emotions, our energy levels, external circumstances, stress levels. It could be there when we want to start a goal and we could be all motivated, and literally by the time we start, the motivation could be gone. Also, when we're working toward a goal, motivation doesn't give you any methods to keep going when things get a little less exciting or they get boring or things get a little tough. Because of this, motivation is not what we should be using to try to get the long-term results that we want. Instead, we want to be using discipline. Go to your room.
What?
No, not that type of discipline. We're talking about self-discipline. Discipline keeps us on track regardless of how we feel. So when the initial excitement has worn off and we need to keep going, it's discipline that allows us to keep moving ahead. It's based on developing a very realistic plan and making promises to yourself that you're going to keep that plan over time and continually keep that plan. And discipline is a skill that can be learned over time. The more you practice it, the better it gets. So how do you develop discipline? Well, the first step is to decide what you want to change in your life, your main goal. And then out of that goal, pick one simple little task that you know you could accomplish. It should be something that's easy, simple, and attainable that does not overwhelm you. For example, if let's say you want to start working out or just exercising and you've never exercised before, a simple task might be, I'm going to start walking 3 times a week for 10 minutes. Now, don't worry about the duration. The duration doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're picking something that you know you can do very easily and accomplish on a regular basis. The key here is to focus on picking an easy task, something that you know you could repeat. So the next step is to set up a routine of when you're going to do the task that you selected. So with our walking example, you'll open up your calendar, you'll select at the beginning of the week the dates and the times of when you plan to actually do that activity. Remember, we're only talking 10 minutes. So that's all you're committing for. You don't have to do more. The key here is to set it in your schedule and stick to it, to accomplish it, to make the promise to yourself that you're going to do it. So when the time comes, take the 10 minutes, do your walk, and pat yourself on the back that you did it. The important thing here is to keep the promise to yourself. It's on your schedule. You made a promise to yourself. Stick to it. Do the 10 minutes and move on. Then the next step is to be consistent, to continue to keep those promises to yourself, to continue seeing those appointments and taking your walks and building the habit over time. The other thing that's important is to be flexible. So if something happens and you need to shift your date or time, have some buffer days of when you can make it up, but don't completely miss it. Just figure out a different time to be able to do it and make sure you stick to it. You want to make sure that those sessions or those tasks that you've selected are priorities, that they're important to you. And that's what helps you build discipline over time. And make sure you celebrate those small wins. The important thing is to acknowledge that you are actually accomplishing the things that you set out to accomplish. You are keeping those promises to yourself because those are the things that are going to help you build new habits in your life and make changes and help you actually accomplish the goal. So they're tiny little steps, but they actually are a big deal that you're accomplishing them on a regular basis. And finally, build from there. So You've been working on this little task for a while. It's now become a habit. It's something you've been doing on a regular basis. What's the next step? What can you do next? How can you increase it? How can you make it a little more challenging? What's the next step that you would take toward your goal? The key here is to take tiny, little, actionable steps that you can repeat over and over on a regular basis that help you build toward your main goal. So as you work through this process and you develop your discipline, remember that your motivation might come, it might go. If it's there, put it to use. If it's not, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. And I've also realized that there are times when I've worked toward a goal and attained a certain result. And when I saw the result, that's when I got more motivated to actually continue. So it was interesting that the motivation actually came later. It wasn't something that I necessarily had when I started, but once I was making progress toward what I wanted to accomplish, that's when my motivation started to increase to actually continue. But again, the foundation to all this is to use the discipline and not rely on the motivation as much, but use it when it's there. So I hope you like this video. If you're looking for ways to get more active, check out this video here. Also, if you like the video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, stay active. I'll see you in the next video.